There is a profoundly disturbing paradox that nearly everyone who has been wounded by a narcissist is eventually forced to face. What lingers longest is not the pain caused by their actions, but the absolute lack of acknowledgement afterward. They move on, continue their lives, laugh, form new narratives, while you remain suspended in stillness, haunted by a single looping question. Did they feel nothing at all? Or did they know exactly what they did and simply refuse to name it? From Carl Jung's perspective, this question cannot be answered through morality or by dividing people into good and bad. What is at work here is not conscience in the conventional sense, but a far deeper psychological defense. Primordial shame. Unlike guilt, which allows a person to say, "I did something wrong," shame strikes at the level of existence itself, whispering, "I am wrong." And because of this, it becomes an existential threat to the ego structure the narcissist relies upon to survive. In Jungian psychology, the narcissist does not operate from the true self, but from the persona, a carefully constructed mask designed to protect against inner emptiness and chronic inadequacy. When they harm you, a part of them recognizes that harm. But that recognition is not permitted to enter consciousness. It is immediately pushed into the shadow, where everything intolerable is buried. In this context, admitting wrongdoing is not a moral act. It is a psychological event capable of collapsing the entire persona. It would force them to confront what they have spent a lifetime avoiding. That is why they do not acknowledge, do not apologize, do not look back. Not because you are unworthy of truth, but because truth threatens their psychological survival. Once this is understood, the story shifts. It no longer centers on whether you receive an apology, but on a deeper realization: their silence is not proof of indifference. It is evidence of a lack of inner capacity to remain in the presence of truth that the relationship itself exposed. Part 1. Shame is not guilt. The most misunderstood dynamic in narcissistic harm. The first distinction that must be restored is the difference between guilt and shame. Much of the prolonged suffering does not arise from the narcissist's behavior alone, but from unconsciously projecting your emotional framework onto a psyche that operates very differently. Guilt is behavior-based. It allows a person to look back, assess their actions, and say, "I acted wrongly," without their entire identity collapsing. It creates space for repair. Shame is different. Shame does not speak about actions, it speaks about being. It declares, "There is something fundamentally wrong with me." Because of this, shame does not invite reflection. It triggers survival. Within Jung's framework, shame is among the emotions most quickly banished to the shadow. If allowed into consciousness, it would destabilize the persona entirely. The narcissist does not lack awareness in the way people often assume. Rather, they lack an ego stable enough to separate behavior from self-worth. For them, acknowledging harm is not healing, it is annihilating. Thus, when you wait for responsibility, remorse, or recognition, you are unknowingly asking for something beyond their psychological tolerance. Not because they are unaware, but because naming that awareness would unleash the very shame they learned to escape early in life. Here lies the paradox. The more damage they cause, the deeper the shame grows. And the deeper the shame, the less capacity there is to acknowledge it. Once this becomes clear, the question transforms. It is no longer, "Why won't they apologize?" but "Why have I placed my healing in the hands of someone who cannot face themselves?" Part 2. How shame forms the narcissistic structure. To understand why shame within the narcissistic psyche is so destructive, we must look far earlier. Not to excuse, but to comprehend the architecture of survival. The narcissist's shame did not begin with you. It existed long before, dormant beneath the surface. The relationship merely activated it. In early environments where love is conditional, emotions are dismissed, or attention is withdrawn unpredictably, the developing ego cannot process the experience of being unseen or unvalued. Instead, that pain is buried in the shadow. From this point, the persona forms, not as a social convenience, but as a life support system. I must be strong. I must be special. I must be superior, because stopping would allow shame to surface. Shame becomes a constant threat. When they enter a relationship with someone capable of empathy and emotional depth, this structure destabilizes. Not through accusation, but through intimacy. Your presence illuminates what they have hidden. When they see disappointment in your eyes or recognize harm for even a moment, shame stirs. The defensive system responds instantly, burying shame deeper while fortifying the persona. For the narcissist, the persona is not optional. Without it, there is no stable self beneath. Each refusal to acknowledge harm is therefore not avoidance. It is survival reflex. This understanding does not lessen the pain, but it restores coherence. You did not ask for too much. You touched a level of their inner world they could not integrate. Part 3. Why acknowledgement threatens collapse. At the deepest level, acknowledgement equals disintegration. In Jungian terms, the persona supports the ego when the true self cannot. For most people, it is flexible. For the narcissist, it is skin. To acknowledge wrongdoing would require removing the mask, facing the shadow, accepting imperfection. For a psyche organized around shame avoidance, this is intolerable. Thus, reality is reshaped instantly, not as conscious lying, but as unconscious distortion. Truth cannot remain long enough to be named. This is why denial feels so absolute, why memory is rewritten, why blame is reversed. Protecting the persona becomes more vital than protecting truth. You become a threat, not because you are wrong, but because you ask them to face something they cannot survive facing. And here the realization emerges: not everyone has the capacity to endure truth. Part 4. When shame turns into attack. Unacknowledged shame does not vanish, it seeks an outlet. When internal containment fails, projection begins. The narcissist exports shame outward. Reality blurs. Your pain is minimized, roles reverse, you become the problem. This process becomes organized. Gaslighting, blame shifting, smear campaigns, not random cruelty, but psychological necessity. You become the container. The accusations strike deeply because they are not about you, they are expulsions of unbearable internal content. When you stop reacting, shame has nowhere to go. That is why silence escalates their behavior.